let's try a little thought experiment. Imagine you don't actually own your house or your car or, any of your most treasured memories. What if you're just renting them? It sounds kind of insane, right? But in our digital lives, this is pretty much already our reality. So let's dive into what people are now calling digital feudalism.
So right off the bat, let's ask the big question that gets to the heart of all this. Do you really own your digital life? I mean, if we're being totally honest with ourselves, the answer is probably no. Every photo you post, every conversation you have, every idea you save to the cloud, you're basically just renting a little bit of space on someone else's giant computer.
And this analogy just hits it perfectly. Think back a few hundred years. Feudal lords controlled the land, and the peasants worked that land. Well, today, these massive tech platforms, they control the servers. That's the new land. And we, the users, we create all the data that makes that land valuable. The power structure is kind of creepy similar when you look at it like this.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're gonna start by looking at these new digital landlords and the kind of hidden economy that's built around your data. Then we'll get into how we all get trapped in the system. And this is the important part, we're gonna look at a potential crack in the walls, this idea of actually owning your digital identity and what might be the next huge power shift on the internet.
Okay, first up, the new digital landlords. This is all about a fundamental shift that kind of crept up on all of us, probably without us even noticing. We moved from a world of ownership to a world of just access. It's a really subtle change, but it's got huge consequences. Because now, everything's a rental. I mean, think about it. We used to own our stuff. You had music files on your computer, you had software on a CD, documents on your own personal hard drive. Now, we subscribe to Spotify, we access software in the cloud, and we upload our entire lives to these platforms. And let's be super clear, the cloud is just a friendly marketing term for someone else's computer. If that company decides to delete your account tomorrow, poof, your digital life is just gone. So you have to ask, if we're just renting, what's the rent we're paying? Well, this whole system isn't free. It's fueled by this massive, powerful, and mostly invisible economy. And in that economy, you're not the customer, you're the product. And this is where it gets really wild. Every simple action you take online is turned into a resource. Every single search you type into that little box, that's raw material to build and train AI. Every video you watch, you're helping to fuel multi-billion-dollar advertising markets. Even just pausing for a couple of seconds to look at a product online, that's training a prediction algorithm somewhere. You're constantly providing the labor, and your data is the harvest they collect. And it all comes back to that classic saying from the world of business, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. We get free email, free social media, free photo storage. Awesome, right? But nothing is ever truly free. These companies aren't charities. They're some of the biggest businesses on earth, built on one single transaction, trading their free service for your attention and your data. That's the currency. So this all leads us to a pretty uncomfortable spot. Because when you're the product in a system you don't control, it becomes incredibly hard to just walk away. This is what's being called digital serfdom. Let's be really clear about what we mean here. Digital serfdom isn't about being tied to a platform because you love it so much. It's when you're tied to it because the cost of leaving is just too high. Imagine being a creator who built a huge audience, and then you get banned overnight. Your entire livelihood just vanishes because the platform, not you, owned your audience. All of your social capital, your entire digital life, is locked inside walls that you don't control. I mean, just really think about it for a second. If you decided to delete your main social media account tomorrow, what would you actually lose? All your followers? Gone. Your friends list? Gone. Years of photos, your connections, maybe even your entire work portfolio. You would have to start over from absolute zero. That friction, that fear of losing everything, that's what keeps us locked in. It's probably the most powerful user retention tool ever invented. Okay, so that's the system we're living in right now. But before we get to the escape plan, we have to understand the breaking point. Because the pressure for a real change is building. And it's because this whole data economy is about to get way more personal and invasive. And yeah, this is where things start to get really dangerous. We've been talking about things like clicks and searches and what you type, but the next frontier of data collection is moving from our keyboards and into our bodies. Just look at this progression here. It started simple, with clicks and searches. Then it became voice patterns from our smart speakers, facial expressions from our webcams. But the next step, with all the wearables out there,
is your heart rate, your sleep patterns, all of your most intimate biometric signals. And what's the ultimate goal? To collect data on your emotional reactions in real time. Your very identity becomes the most valuable data set in the world, and right now, you control none of it.
But here's the thing about systems like this. Every economic system in history, from feudalism right up to today, eventually reaches a breaking point. The imbalance of power just gets so extreme that the pressure for a fundamental change becomes overwhelming. And that exact same pressure is building right now in our digital world.
And this brings us to the most exciting part of this whole story, the solution. There's a new movement bubbling up, and it's built around this incredibly powerful idea called self-sovereign identity. Okay, so here's the revolutionary idea. Self-sovereign identity completely flips the model on its head. Instead of platforms each owning a little piece of your identity, you own the one true master version. Think of it like a digital passport that you carry, that you control, not a new ID card issued by every single website you visit. They don't control your data anymore, you do. And you get to decide, down to the smallest detail, who gets to see what.
So how would this actually work? Well, imagine your core identity lives in a personal, encrypted digital wallet that only you have the keys to, often secured by stuff like blockchain. Your data, your photos, your messages, they're stored wherever you choose, not on some company's servers. And here is the absolute game changer. Your reputation, your followers, your entire social network, it all becomes portable. You could leave one platform today and just plug into a new one tomorrow without losing a single follower. Now, the implications of this are just massive. This isn't some new feature or an app update. This is a fundamental power shift. We're talking about re-architecting the internet from the ground up to move power away from these huge centralized platforms and put it back into the hands of individuals. It's a total before and after picture. We move from centralized servers to decentralized networks. We go from platform-owned identity to user-owned identity. And most importantly, we shift from a model of endless data extraction to one of data sovereignty. Power literally moves from the center of the network out to the edges, to us. And if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. In this new model, your data stops being a resource to be harvested and sold behind your back. It becomes a personal asset, an asset that you own, that you control, and that you can even choose to profit from on your own terms. Because when you really get down to it, the ultimate currency of the next internet isn't going to be crypto or some new token. It's you, your identity, your data, your reputation. That is the single highest value asset in the entire digital economy. And the battle for who gets to control it has only just begun. So, we end right back where we started. But now there's a really clear choice on the table. As this next version of the internet starts to take shape, the question is actually pretty simple. Are you going to remain a data serf, living in someone else's digital kingdom? Or are you going to become the true owner of your digital life? Because more and more, that choice is going to be ours to make.